Good afternoon, I'm Shane Masters with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. CEO of the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, Peter Thompson, is warning agriculturalists and stakeholders to take a proactive approach in addressing the issue of climate change. He was speaking at a workshop on accelerating the adoption of climate-smart agriculture in Jamaica at the Spanish Court Hotel in New Kingston earlier this week. TVJ's Nick Dawkins reports.
We as agriculturalists and stakeholders, we have to put measures in place and be proactive in addressing the issue of climate change.
That warning from the CEO of Rural Agriculture Development Authority, RADA, Peter Thompson. It follows a bad situation that appears to be getting worse. Proliferation of bushfires wreaking havoc on farms, especially in St. Mary. Mr. Thompson says the damage caused by a compilation of drought and bushfires amounts to more than $400 million.
Based on statistics from the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, between 1994 and 2010, we have lost in excess of $14 billion damage. Well, when I'm speaking about loss to the agriculture sector, in terms of weather events, be it drought, be it bushfires, and be it flooding.
He further explains that by 2030, the mean temperature is expected to increase by 0.47 to 1.17 degrees.
If we are experiencing these high temperatures now, sweating, then just imagine 10, 20 years down the line, it is going to be serious. I was reading a World Bank report recently, and it states that by 2050, 50% of the arable agricultural lands will become desert if we don't put the necessary systems in place to address that.
With these concerns, Mr. Thompson suggests water harvesting to help tackle challenges of climate change.
Nothing is wrong with the Black Tank program, but colleagues, we have to move away from the Black Tank program and look at more sustainable way of harnessing water and preserving it for future use.
RADA has done an assessment of all the catchment areas in Jamaica and says the cost to rehabilitate them is approximately $200 million. Nick Dawkins, TVJ News.
President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Lloyd Distant, has applauded the government for its progress in passing legislations which could help remove some of the barriers to growth for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. He was speaking at a recent meeting of the JCC board.
These include the Security Interest in Personal Property Act, commonly called SIPA, for those of us who are familiar with that, which provides for non-traditional collateral, livestock, intellectual property, specialized inventory or machinery, to be used as security when trying to access capital. There's a Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act of 2014, which provides legal acknowledgement of the fact that in a market economy, enterprises and entrepreneurs must be allowed to fail and given the opportunity to reboot.
Meanwhile, Mr. Distant has vowed to intensify calls for tax cuts to the sector.
We will be stepping up our advocacy for ongoing tax reform to further reduce the cost of doing business for all enterprises and particularly MSMEs. This is a challenge and a charge that is bigger than the JCC or any single business support organization. But the JCC wishes to reiterate our intention to be focused and unyielding in these pursuits.
The National Partnership Council, NPC, has agreed on a methodology to monitor the implementation of special measures on safety and security. That announcement from Prime Minister Andrew Holness during his Emancipation Day message. There has been increased scrutiny of the methods being used by the Andrew Holness-led government in dealing with crime and violence in the country. The opposition has said that it seems there is no significant mechanism being implemented to address the crime monster. Another area of concern for other members of the society was the treatment of persons under the Zone of Special Operations (SOSO) and States of Emergency (SOE). In addressing the nation on Emancipation Day, the Prime Minister listed some improvements that are in the pipeline through a partnership.
We have not been able to develop consensus on the crime-fighting aspects of law, order, and security. I'm confident, however, that it is within our collective will to use the institutions we have established, such as the National Partnership Council, and which have shown results in building consensus around national issues. In recent discussions with the National Partnership Council, there is agreement that there should be established an articulated and dedicated monitoring and reporting mechanism on law, order, and public safety rooted in the Council.
Mr. Holness further acknowledged the country's successes in the areas of debt and fiscal challenges and doing business, noting that improving public order is the area that has seen the least success. He said this has been done through a partnership approach to governance. In that regard, Prime Minister Holness stated that the government is now seeking to further build consensus through partnership.
We must build consensus on comprehensive measures to fight crime, address our at-risk youth, and improve conditions in our communities. There must be national support for increased, targeted government spending on these areas. The interventions made through zones of special operations have contributed to a reduction in crime. The ZOZO modality is working, and now it is the goal of the government to scale this up as rapidly as possible so that we can reclaim communities that are at risk and make Jamaica the safe place we know it can be.
According to Mr. Holness, there is a general agreement around the social intervention aspects of addressing issues of law and order, public safety, and security. Currently, there are 4 zones of special operations, ZOZO, and states of emergency in the Western Tri-Parish region of Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James, and also in the St. Andrew South Police Division. Repairs have been completed on one of the wards at the Spanish Town Hospital, which was recently closed due to termite infestation. The roof on sections of the facility was compromised because of the problem. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says work is now being done on an additional 4 wards, and he expects normality to return
a number of
within
wards
2 months.
have the termite infestation. So what we decided to do was to shut down on a scheduled basis and repair those wards. I think the first one has been completed, and then we're moving on to the second. I think we're doing about 5 wards over a period of time. It's going well. In fact, I was there today looking at another aspect of the hospital, the Promac building, which is going to be opened up in September. And I got a brief on what is happening as it relates to the termite infestation. And it's taking place as planned. So we should get to normality, hopefully over the next month or 2.
We now take a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories after these messages. Welcome back, continuing the news. Member of Parliament for East Kingston and Port Royal, Philip Paulwell, is expressing disappointment with the neglect of work on 2 areas within his constituency. These areas are Windward Road and the Port Royal community. Speaking at his constituency's annual conference recently, he blasted the government, stating that road work is being done all over the corporate area except in East Kingston.
I am very upset that after the Prime Minister promised me that he was going to ensure that the road that they were doing on Windward Road would be one that we could be truly proud of. I am disappointed with this government for what they have done. And they are treating us, and I'm bold to say so, with disrespect because we are downtown.
Mr. Paulwell says the only work done was the patching of a small section of the roadway.
The project was meant to be from Rockport to Ellison Road. Supposed to be an elegant corridor. They have taken the road, the paving, to Mountain View Avenue. So we have all of the rest of Windward Road to be done, not a word as yet from the government. But worse than that, they have put in a road without curb walls, and without sidewalk.
The East Kingston Member of Parliament is also chastising the government for its slow pace in addressing issues in Port Royal. He noted the need for improved water supply, sewage collection, and housing.
We have been very disappointed with the agencies of the state because there are 50 lots that have been allocated, were allocated during the People's National Party administration. And to date, we can't get approval for the citizens to go to NHT to borrow money to build their houses.
As for the planned cruise ship pier,
they want to bring in cruise ships starting in January. And nobody has thought about the people of Port Royal. So I am led to believe that their aim is to land some people here, tourists, and we love tourists, to land them here and to put them on buses and take them out of Port Royal. That's not going to happen, you know. That's not going to happen, you know.
Clogged drains continue to pose difficulties for the city of Falmouth. Mayor Colin Gager says his team has invested time and money into cleaning the drains in the town. However, the indiscipline of residents renders his efforts useless.
What we have discovered too, you know, it is in some people's interest to keep the drains blocked. So everything is dumped into it. We had one drain there down by the Ruby's gas station, and that culvert was padded. Big stones rammed into it. We flushed that out and it is now clean. We don't have a water running.
The mayor expressed his concern for the situation, noting that Falmouth is below sea level and blocked drains will increase the possibility of flooding. Mayor Gager added that the town is also faced with another issue where residents refuse to utilize the public restrooms in the town.
Sanitary convenience is up, people refuses to use it. People will complain that it is too far away. We had one incident while we were washing down the street, there was a lady urinating at a corner.
The municipality has purchased power hoses and cleaning chemicals to battle the issue. The mayor warns that they will be utilizing municipal police to target individuals who continue the practice. Tears flowed on Tuesday as teachers and students paid their final respects to Caroline Davis Campbell, who was gunned down at her home on Wednesday, July 10. At her Thanksgiving service, she was remembered as one who went beyond the call of duty to address the needs of her students.
She was a teacher on a mission, dedicated to giving of her best to her students. Caroline was an avid team player. This was evident in her involvement in school affairs. She was a member of the fundraising committee for All Together Sing Choir, financial controller of Dujon House, facilitator of the Police Youth Club, an active participant in school sports events, and a caring and supportive form teacher.
A cousin of the deceased says the gruesome murder of Miss Davis Campbell has been a big blow to the family. In relation to the investigation,
we're not sure of the status of the investigation, but we're hoping for a breakthrough pretty soon.
In sports, Jamaican international Shamar Nicholson scored his second goal in as many games for his club NK Domjale in the second qualifying round of the UEFA Europa League on Thursday. The 22-year-old gave Domjale the lead in the 12th minute, but it came in a losing effort as his Slovenian club fell 3-2 to Swedish club Malmö away from home on the night and 5-4 on aggregate after a 2-2 draw last week in the first leg. With this result, Domjale are now eliminated from the competition. Meanwhile, another Jamaican, Brian Brown, was in action as his Albanian club Partizani was also eliminated at the hands of Sheriff from Moldova. The first leg ended 1-0 in favor of Sheriff, but in the second leg they held Partizani to a 1-1 draw and advanced 2-1 on aggregate. And Jamaica's under-19 cricket team suffered their second straight defeat in the Regional 50-over Championship after going down by 5 wickets to Barbados at the Arnoldsville Cricket Ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Thursday. Batting first, Jamaica were bowled out for 132 inside the 38 overs. Matthew Comrie top scored with 42 against 4 for 15 from Matthew Ford and 2 for 31 from Jay Simmons. That's Simmons, rather. Niam Young then made an unbeaten 42 and Kevin Wickham 22 as Barbados got to their target at 133 for 5 of 27.3 overs. Michael Thompson took 2 for 16 for the Jamaicans, while there was a wicket apiece for Andre Blake, Christopher Green and Tion Jarrett. The Jamaicans will next be in action on Sunday against Guyana. And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.